How do you know if you've been successful at your fitness program? How do you know if it's working or not? What's the way you judge that little measure of success? I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I deal with your concerns and your biggest struggles and hopefully inspire you that you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve by sharing how to move, what to eat, and changing your mindset potentially about what to eat and how to move. Because let's face it, after 20, 30, or 40 years of conditioning, we probably have, all of us, some unlearning to do. And even if logically you're nodding your head and you're listening to podcasts, when you truly go to stare at the menu or you go to the yogurt aisle and wonder, what do I do? Which do I have? Which is better? It's still going to have some habit gravity. All those things that you used to do and know and were confident, and now we've thrown them under the bus. So it's totally understandable. What I hope to be is your filter. Give you some questions to think about, some reasons to potentially invest more time in doing the research yourself or using the research I provide you with. Either way, you're a step further than you were before. So let's dive into this. And I've got something extra for you. If you feel like I don't answer all of your questions here, every month, Flipping 50 does a free, open to the public masterclass for the idea that I want to inspire a movement about changing the way we age and improving it. And that begins with our expectations about aging. What you believe between those 6 inches between your ears will impact what happens below the shoulders. So that's why I'm here, and that's why we do these free webinars from topics that some of those are evergreen and keep coming up because, wait for it, we're getting more and more research on women in menopause and beyond. And that, my friends, helps us. So if you want to join the upcoming masterclass, it's called Muscle Gain, Not Fat Loss. And if you like this, you might want to take the next step. And I'll put the link in the show notes. It will be flipping50.com/strength now, no spaces. And you can join us June 9th. If you're listening after the fact, trust me, this is really last minute and late to be posted, but we do that every month. And to not miss it, if you're not already a subscriber on our email list, getting the first notifications for all the juicy programs that open and the free opportunities to join me for coaching Q&As, then join our Facebook Flipping 50 Insiders group. That's where podcast listeners, YouTube subscribers, and Flipping 50 TV viewers gather to ask questions, be in a community of women just like them. I'll put the link again in the show notes, and that is Muscle Gain, Not Fat Loss. All the updates about holding on to muscle after 50 and how aging, menopause, and the pandemic have teamed up and what you can do about it. All right, let's dive in. So, how do you measure fitness in menopause? Is it weight? Is it inches? Are you digging deeper for the results that lead to long-term success? Or are you chasing a digital number that you crave? I mean, does anybody have a needle anymore on their scale? I don't know. Do you look for short-term measures of fitness success that tell you that you're on the right track? Or do you see 5 things working and then that scale not changing and throw in the towel? If you're sleeping well, you love your energy, you're eating high quality protein evenly distributed throughout the day, you've explored your diet with an elimination and a reintroduction process, you're reaching fatigue in your strength training sessions, and you're avoiding muscle wasting long endurance cardio sessions, it may be time to look at what lab tests can tell you. But before we go there, How do you literally measure before and after your programs? And if you're not in a program, you're managing this on your own, you're disciplined, you're following your own program or course of action, declare a start. So when you come up against it's the start of a month, do measurements. So here's what the number one thing every home that shelters humans who want to age optimally and see transformation needs is a smart scale. So if you don't have one now, it's time. A dumb scale measures only your weight. A smart scale tells you, at the very least, body composition and weight. From there, you and I can calculate. So, listen, I spent plenty of hours at the kitchen table doing my algebra, my geometry, but addition, subtraction, multiplication, that I can handle. A smart scale tells you the body composition and weight, and you can calculate your lean body mass. You take that percent of body fat, say it's 25% times your total body weight, and boom, now you know the amount of weight that is lean weight. And from that, you can subtract your lean body mass. Now, that's going to include your bone and your organs as well as your muscle, but it's still a lot of information. We're just going to know, or we can do a little assuming, not usually a good idea, but you can do a little assuming that your bones are not going to change dramatically in a month. And the weight of your internal organs, unless you're going to have something removed, is not going to change dramatically in a month. So we've got a pretty static that if there's some flexibility there or fluctuation in your lean body mass, your muscle is what's changing the game. So you'll know it changes on the scale. And if you'll know what it is that changes, it gives you so much power that positive increases in muscle are there and decreases in fat if, in fact, you have weight to lose. Now, if you don't have weight to lose, I've got you. You want to be sure that you see gains that are muscle. If you have weight and strength to gain, because say you're in the skinny fat or the frail side of things, and if you're listening and you're in your 50s or 60s, even your 70s, and you think, listen, I got a good 20, 30, or 40 years left to go, then it's time to get on this. It is absolutely not too late. So measure fitness success during menopause at home. Super easy to do, and you should have it right now in your bathroom. Prior to the pandemic, I would have suggested that our flipping 50 members buy one or go out, find a nutrition store, a fitness center, or a doctor who has one. Doing your DEXA scan for bone density. Actually, you haven't known to ask potentially, but that will tell you body composition as well. So ask them, or find what I call an in-body. It's my favorite tool, industrial kind of tool. Nutrition stores have them, many fitness centers have them. I consult with fitness centers and programs, and it's what I recommend. Now, the industry level ones are about $10,000. You're probably not going to put that in your bathroom. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You can get a friendly user one at home. It's the Cadillac, but you don't need something that expensive. Post pandemic, I suggest every home have a smart scale. That alone isn't enough, as we know from the Journal of American Medical Association, a 2021 study that's shown that the average smart scale user gained 1.5 pounds a month during the pandemic. So as of May 2020, even looking back a bit, that's 20 pounds. And let's hope we're opening back up and we're getting something handled, but it's harder to do the older you are. It allows you to have feedback about your habits so you can course correct as needed in real time. I have 3 smart scales selected, one for every price range, every budget, from good enough to gold standard, and it's in my Flipping 50 Amazon store. And I'll link to that in my show notes. Just to give you an idea of $25, what 75, and what more than probably 300 will give you. But Amazon has sales all the time. Those Prime days are pretty valuable, so keep your eyes open. If you don't know your body fat percent, you don't know enough. I'm letting that sink in. Yeah, with me? If you absolutely can't invest $25, that lowest price smart scale, and you care about your health, what are you doing? So you want to measure your inches as well, specifically waist and hip, so we can get a waist to hip ratio. Those two alone will tell you a lot about your health. If you're over 35 inches around your waist, we've got a problem, girlfriend. And that's heart health and cancer risk. We also want to know your weight, but only weight and body composition, never just weight, because you will falsely think you are either very successful or it will be very devastating, and you will not know the underlying reason it's true. Sleep, you want to measure your sleep. Measure the quality and the quantity of your sleep. Measure how many times you wake up. Measure how refreshed you are in the morning. Measure your appetite and your cravings. Obviously, your appetite should be healthy, not ravenous. Your cravings should be disappearing. Measure your poop, the length of it, the kind of it. Use the Bristol scale. It shouldn't be falling apart and look like diarrhea or pudding. It should look like snakes, not rabbits. Measure your bloat or your comfort level at your belly. Measure it in the morning when you get up, measure it at noon, and measure it in the afternoon. Someone just recently described to me that she'd get up in the morning, she'd put on pants, and they'd feel comfortable. By noon, they'd feel a little bit tight and snug, and by evening, she could just let them fall off of her because they were so tight, she had to have them undone anyway. That's a problem, and that's a reflection of what's going on that may actually be getting in your way. Measure your libido. Are you getting any? Are you having some fun doing it? Reflection. Measure your reflection, your skin, your face, your eyes. You cannot fake health. If you're truly getting more fit, you'll see it. Measure your energy. And I say energy as opposed to fatigue, but you may be somewhere on the continuum between those two. Make sure it's getting closer to energy all the time. Measure your interest in life outside of exercising. Do you have two speeds? One is possessed to move, I have to be on the move, and the other is sleeping. Like you sit down and you can't keep your eyes open. If I asked you to pick up a book or to watch a movie, you wouldn't last long without being out. That's problematic. That suggests that you're probably just burning yourself out. You're actually not progressing. Measure your productivity. Fit people get more done in less time. Things that matter. Measure your happiness versus your depression and anxiety. All right. And that's not an exhaustive list, but it's a really good start. Measure fitness success in menopause by all these means, not just one. So, this podcast episode was almost named something else. It's why what you think a good workout is disrupting your hormones. I'm about to challenge your ideal of a good workout. Can you remember when was the last time you finished an exercise session and said that was a good workout? And what was that valuation based on? Think about it. Were you dripping with sweat? Were you actually sore or knew you'd be sore tomorrow? Or what was it? There's something that qualifies as the criteria for you putting it in that box. When you've been conditioned your entire life to think more is better, more recovery is generally not been included. More can mean harder, more often, longer, and all too often, all of those at once. But there's an elephant in the room. More means more, harder, longer, more often, and fatter. Because chances are you have a greater appetite and more cravings, are overcompensating with food, but not necessarily realizing it, thinking you barely eat, or are under eating truly, because of course you're trying to create that deficit of low calories, high movement, and you're thinking that will get me more progress. But listen, I'm here to tell you that if you're burning about 5,000 calories a day and you're eating less than 2,000, that is causing your body stress, and cortisol kinds of stress will store fat. But chances are, if you're doing more, you're also disrupting your sleep. And any combination of which add up to stress for your body. You have more cravings, greater appetite, you're overcompensating with food, you're under eating, and you're disrupting your sleep. Stress. And then what happens is signals get crossed. Your hormones do not fire correctly. Even those waning hormones, late in perimenopause or early in postmenopause, if you're not doing hormone replacement, there's some still there. We still have insulin, we still have cortisol. There's still some testosterone there. There's some growth hormone. There's glucagon. There's adiponectin. There's the hunger hormone, right? And there's the satiety hormone, but they're not firing correctly. Cortisol tells your body to gain weight, store fat. Insulin sensitivity tanks, and more insulin is required. And higher insulin and cortisol together deposit that fat right in your belly. The real definition of a good workout is one that meets the goals and purpose of the plan you have for today. So if you're not looking at your week and have a plan for Monday that complements Tuesday and Sunday, and a plan for Tuesday that complements Monday and Wednesday, you don't really have something that will give you valid transformation predictably. Random exercise gives you random results. The real definition of a good workout is one that meets the goals and purpose of the plan you have for today. Monday, for me, for example, is a rest day. Generally, Saturday and Sunday are higher intensity days, and they're wisely planned. That's me patting myself on the back, by the way, to optimize the balance of hard physical work and a workout with less stress elsewhere. So, although I'm an entrepreneur and we don't necessarily take a vacation any day of the week, and I love my work, so I do work, but there are a lot fewer meetings. There are no client meetings. I draw lots of boundaries around my weekends, but you want that time to recover. That's a part of planning. Let me ask you something. Do you get anxious on rest days? Do you fear that if you don't move, you'll lose your edge, the chance to burn calories, and you'll lose your fitness? So, on your rest days, you make sure that you're doing extra something else. I've seen that kind of fear and addiction in clients. I can't wait for an upcoming episode that I recorded with Susan Niebergall. You'll recognize her most likely from Instagram if you're a follower of women in flipping 50, flipping 60s, or flipping 70s in this age range where we really need to flip the truths about fitness after 50. So we dished on this a bit, so watch for that one. Is this you? You're always on the go, such that when you're not, the brief instances when you sit down to enjoy a book or a movie, you can't keep your eyes open. If you admit it after your workout, even a long walk, lately you could take a nap. Or maybe that's not you. Maybe you're not on the go at all. You're working constantly, and then you're working out hard, just like you work. And you're going to do it even if it hurts your joints or you're tired or you haven't had enough fuel. You're pushing through, cutting calories and counting everything. And yet, nothing counts. You're not enjoying energy from the exercise or better health. The exercise is just a means to an end for you. An end you will never reach. Your workouts become flat, unproductive, or boring. There's no ideal way to simply measure calories consumed against the calories you burned. I know there's probably 200 apps out there begging you to use them to do it. So you may be saying, what are you talking about? I use blah, blah, blah. But listen, both those are an estimate, and that doesn't tell the whole story. They don't include gut health or your hormone status. Hormones determine what your body does with the calories you choose to give it or to take away from it. Someone putting you or yourself on a low calorie diet could just throw your hormones into fat storage, even if every morsel is healthy. Not everyone can be healthy eating kale or other raw greens. If that's you and you're eating them every day, thinking a big salad for lunch is just so virtuous, it could be disrupting your gut and your ability to absorb micronutrients. Not everyone can eat nightshade vegetables. Just another example, and we could stay here for another hour because of sensitivity or inflammation. So, if you've got an autoimmune disease, nightshades often are disruptive. They're all on the healthy list, those examples I just gave. Any food can be that kind of a culprit for you. Many should be eating healthy fats like monounsaturated fats and MCT oil, but are fat phobic. Is that you? Some are still stuck in the low fat bagel crazy, pairing that high carb with fat and creating more opportunity for cholesterol than eggs ever did. So, my friends, the rules have changed. What you learned 20, 30, 40 years ago sticks with you because you are impressionable. It was the time everyone thought we need to get you into health classes. We need to teach you the basics of Nutrition 101. And then you look away because you're living life and that's the information that you've got until suddenly social media comes out and then there's quote unquote lots of instant experts online promoting their quote unquote information and misleading you because they probably have some way to gain by doing so. Let's talk again about the calorie myth. Assuming that every calorie works for every individual the same way is just plain wrong. If you have gut issues that often start at midlife, where hormonal changes and gut issues connect, then your healthy is another woman's poison, or vice versa. You have to find micronutrient rich calories that work for your gut. Heal what issues there might be existing and eliminate what isn't serving you, at least temporarily. Instead of calories, while you do have to work with this thing that's going on in your gut, chase muscle instead of running from fat, veiled in calorie counting and diet deprivation. There you have it. The real measure of fitness. Come back to the scale. Look at the weight, but also look at body composition. Yes, use the scale, but use it in a 2021 and beyond way as data, as feedback. And if you're not measuring body composition, now is the time to start. If this was a topic of interest to you and you want to know about the 3 pillars of fitness after 50, join me on June 9th. That's tomorrow So if you're listening to this later, reach out to us at support at Flipping 50 and ask, is there a replay? Could I please get it? And be really nice, and we'll see what we can do. There are some other episodes that you might love, and I'll put those in the show notes. There's a tracking tool that's my Flipping 50 90-day tracker. What I've done is taken all of the principles and the formula that I use in the programs I teach at Flipping 50 and put them into a planner, one where you actually take pen and put it on paper. So much more valuable than an app because I've got you tracking the things that really matter. I love this term, measure what matters. So a lot of times we're measuring, but we're measuring the wrong thing. And if we measure the wrong thing, what happens then when you cut, right? Measure twice, cut once. You've got this. All right, there you have it, friends. I'd love to know if this was helpful, gave you some insight, or just kind of gave you a jolt into realizing where you might be going wrong, where your fitness program might be going wrong, or it's not necessarily, but you don't have great feedback about what is happening due to the habits you've got every single day. The show notes will be at flipping50.com/fitness success in menopause. What are you waiting for? Let's start Flipping 50 today.